It's recording.
Recording, right? Okay. Okay, so we will resume our discussion from the sixth canto, chapter 16, verse 46. So this is part of the prayers by Chitraketu to Lord Sankarshan. Verse 46. Viditam anant samastam tava jagatmano janeriha charitam vigyapayam param guruho kiyadiva savitureva khadayoditaha. O unlimited, Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever living entity does in this material world is well known to you because you are the Super Soul. In the presence of the sun, there is nothing to be revealed by the light of a glowworm. Similarly, because you know everything in your presence, there is nothing for me to make known. So, out of humility and also out of realization, Chitraketu is making this point that what can he reveal to the Lord, right? So he compares himself to be like a glowworm or a firefly, and compares the Lord to be like the unlimited sun. Right? He says, what can a firefly reveal in front of a sun? Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also interprets this verse in another way, wherein he considers, he says that when Chitraketu is talking about the blinding light of the sun, he is also saying that's how I was. I was like the let me see. I see a message from
yeah, I'm trying, Prabhu. If you can, maybe after the class I'll try. Sorry.
Okay. No, I see a message from Ravi Prabhu that he is not able to enter.
Okay, sorry.
There's Lalita also
Sorry.
waiting.
Yeah, I was doing something else. Yeah,
Oh,
I admitted. Yeah.
okay, good. So Vishnu Chakravarti says that one can also understand this as Chitraketu saying that just like the light of the sun is blinding, the glare of material enjoyment is blinding. But by even a small spark of spiritual enlightenment, and this is where he talks about the light of a glowworm. So the light of a glowworm, he says, is the little bit of spiritual enlightenment, advancement that I was able to make by the mercy of one of your devotees. That is enough to deliver me from the cycle of samsara and get to your lotus feet. So slightly different moods of the same verse, and this again reflects the moods of the acharyas. Verse 47. Namastubhyam bhagvate sakala jagat sthiti layodayaneshaya durvashishtatma gataye kuyoginam vida paramhamsaya. My dear Lord, you are the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this cosmic manifestation. But persons who are too materialistic and who always see separatedness do not have the eyes with which to see you. They cannot understand your real position, and therefore they conclude that the cosmic manifestation is independent of your opulence. My Lord, you are the supreme pure, and your full and 6 opulences. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So, in the previous verse, where Chitraketu is talking about how the Lord is effulgent like the sun, then the Lord might ask that if the light of the sun is everywhere, everyone can see the sun, but then everybody cannot see me also. So Chitraketu in this verse says yes, and he gives the reason. He says that your position is hard to understand by the kuyogis. So ku is the false or the evil yogis. And what is the quality of these kuyogis? That they make distinctions. So in the form of the great swan, the Lord delivers the jivas, but the bahirmukhi jivas, the ones who are situated in duality, deprive themselves of this mercy of the Lord. Similar mood by Prithu Maharaj in the 4th canto, 20th chapter, verse 25, where he uses the same term, kuyoginam, to refer to the non-devotees. Okay? So, Prabhupada says that the Supreme Personality of God is Paramhamsa. And those who are sinful, being very attached to material sense enjoyment, are the lowest of men. And the so-called scientific knowledge is null and void because of their atheistic temperament. Thus, they cannot understand the personality of Godhead. Yam vai swastantam anu vishvasrajas vasanti yam che kitanam anuchitya uchakanti bhumandalam sarshpayati yasya murdini tasmai namo bhagavate stu sahasramurdane. My dear Lord, it is after you. I think it's a typo. It should be after your endeavor that Lord Brahma and Indra and other directors of the cosmic manifestation become occupied with their activities. It is after you perceive the material energy, my Lord, that the senses begin to perceive. The Supreme Personality of Godhead holds all the universes on his heads like seeds of mustard. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, that Supreme Personality who has 1,000 heads. So, just a little bit of technicality. The Sanskrit term Bhumandalam is used over here. Srila Prabhupada translates it as that holds all the universes on the heads. In the 5th canto, it's explained that it's actually the Bhumandal. Srila Prabhupada translates it as Bhumandalam, which is the middle planetary system in the universe. Because in his form as Anantashesh, he only exists within a universe, right? So you cannot hold a universe while you're inside a universe, right? And you cannot obviously hold multiple universes while you're inside one universe. However, and this is where context is important, this can also be a glorification of not Anantashesh, but Lord Sankarshan. Because Lord Sankarshan also displays this Sankarshan Shakti, by which not just one universe, but millions of universes are supported, right from the small atom. The atom is held together by Sankarshan. The mountains are held together by Sankarshan, the planets, the universe, and the whole material creation is held together by Sankarshan. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd canto, 10th chapter, the process of Visarga or secondary creation is described, and there it is explained. So this term that Chitraketu is saying, that after you perceive the material energy, the senses begin to perceive. And the same point is made in the more elaborately in the 2nd canto, 10th chapter, where it says that the Supreme Lord desired to see, and because of the desire, the Virat Purush developed the ability to see, and because of that, the eyes came in, the object of seeing came in, the ability to see came in, and the demigod controlling that ability came in. Right? It all started from the desire of the Lord that is reflected in the Virat Purush, and that manifests into this material reality. So Chitraketu glorifies Lord Sankarshan by 3 qualities. He says that you empower the people to use the karmendriyas, the action senses. You empower the people to use the jnanendriyas, the knowledge inquiring senses, and you hold the universe as a mustard seed on your, or the universes as a mustard seed on your hood. So this is a summary of the glorification of the Lord. So quick recap in verse 34, Chitraketu described how the Lord and his devotees are competing to conquer each other and be conquered by each other. 35 to 37, he glorifies the powers of the Lord, how the Devas are always subservient to the Lord. 38 to 39, he glorifies the devotees 2 ways. First, by criticizing those who go to the Devas, and then second, by glorifying those who go to the Lord. Then verses 40 to 43, he glorifies the path of Bhagavad Dharma. Right. So in 40, he explicitly notes that when I spoke about how the devotees can conquer you, this is how they conquer you, by following Bhagavad Dharma, which is bhakti. In 41, he speaks about those that he had spoken in 38. So he compares Bhagavad Dharma with Kamya Dharma. So in 38, he had criticized those who went to the Devas with material desires. Here he criticizes the path that they follow as Kamya Dharma, and criticizes it because it is three reasons. It is impure, it is perishable, and it is violent. Then in verse 42, he further criticizes the dharmas in which this conception of me and mine is prominent, right? And he says that those who practice these paths are envious of others and envious of themselves. In verse 43, he glorifies Bhagavad Dharma as followed by the Aryas, those who know. Right? Then in verse 44, he personally gives testimony to the efficacy of Bhagavad Dharma. He says that I was fallen materially, I was engrossed, but by the mercy of Narad Muni, I was able to follow Bhagavad Dharma, and because of that, here I am standing in front of you. In verse 45, he glorifies Guru, specifically his Guru Narad Muni, and the importance of sadhana. In verse 46, he expresses that all that I'm saying is just like a firefly trying to illuminate the sun. In verse 47, he talks about the greatness of the Lord's position and how he could not be understood by the Kuyogis. And finally, in verse 48, he glorifies Lord Sankarshan with the three qualities we discussed, how the Lord is supporting everything within this universe. Okay, so with this, Chitraketu's prayers are over. So now we will see the Lord's response to Chitraketu. Ramkatha Prabhu, do you want to go ahead and read the Sanskrit and translation?
Sure, Prabhuji. 49. श्रीसुक उवाच संस्तुतो भगवान् एवम् अनन्तास्तम् अहासत विद्याधरपतिं प्रीतस् चित्रकेतुं कुरुद्वः. Translation. Sukadev Goswami said, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, being very pleased with the prayers offered by Chitraketu, the king of the Vidyadharas, replied to him as follows: O best of the Kuru dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit.
So from verse 49 until verse 65, this is pretty much the end of the chapter. After that, there's just a few verses of the Falstuti, is the Lord's response to Chitraketu. Okay, next verse.
Yes, Prabhu. Verse 50. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Yan Naradan Giro Byamte Vyardram Me Nyuasanam Samsiddhosi Taya Rajan Vijaya Darshanacha Chame. Darsanachame. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadeva, replied as follows: O King, as a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me by the great sages Narada and Angira, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge. Because you are now educated in the spiritual science, you have seen me face to face. Therefore, you are now completely perfect.
So as Chitraketu himself had mentioned, that there is this sweet exchange between the Lord and his devotees, in which the devotees glorify the Lord and the Lord glorifies the devotees. So in the previous verses, Chitraketu was glorifying the Lord. Now the Lord is glorifying him. So the Lord lays down 6 causes of perfection of Chitraketu. So first he says, Narad Angiro Bhayam Te Vihartam. So Narad and Angira, they gave their mercy to you, Te Vihartam, in the form of instructions. Right? First cause of his perfection, he received the mercy of your devotees. Right? And very importantly, how did the mercy come? In the form of instructions. Second is Anushashanam. That Chitraketu, following these instructions, began to worship the Lord. Third is Vidyaya, that he gained knowledge of the Lord. Then Samsiddhosi Tayarajan. By this process of worship and knowledge, he Samsiddho, he gained perfection. Then Darshanat, as a result of which Chitraketu was able to see the Lord face to face, darshana. And then he concludes again by saying samsiddha, and thus he attained perfection. So Prabhupada speaks about the gradual progression of spirituality. Right, so we can relate to that also, maybe not to the later stages, but to the earlier stages. That as practicing devotees, at some point we got the mercy of another devotee. Right? Shraddha, sadhu sang, and then bhajana kriya, anushashanam, that actually began to worship the Lord. Vidyaya. So Vidya is knowledge, also realization, Vigyan. Right? So not just the knowledge of the scriptures, but the realization because of that. And that led us to Samsidosi Tayarajan. That will lead us to the perfection, which will then put us on the path of darshana, seeing the Lord to Lord, which is samsiddha, which is the ultimate goal of one's life. Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes two verses to indicate that ultimately, in order to get the darshan of the Lord, one needs to possess love for the Lord. Right? He quotes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234 Atasa Krishna Nama Adi Nava Vedgranam Indriya Seva Mukhe Jivadu Swayameva Spurudyada. And he quotes Brahma Samhita 538 Premanjana Achurati Bhakti Vilochanena. Right? One should not, the point Prabhupada is making is that one should not think that the process is completely mechanical. It may start off as an external process, may look mechanical, but by the time one reaches the destination, the process purifies one and it morphs into spontaneous love. And he notes that how even the Lord, so look at the humility of the Lord, right? So Chitraketu is standing in front of the Lord and glorifying the Lord, and the Lord first he glorifies Narad and Angira, and then he's glorifying Chitraketu, right? So the Lord is basically glorifying the position of the Guru in leading one back to him. Okay, next verse.
51. Aham vai sarva bhutani bhutatma bhutavavana sabda brahma param brahma mamobhe sasvatistanu. Translation. All living entities, moving and non-moving, are my expansions and are separate from me. I am the super soul of all living beings who exist because I manifest them. I am the form of the transcendental vibrations like Omkara and Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. And I am the supreme absolute truth. These two forms of mine, namely the transcendental sound and the eternally blissful spiritual form of the deity, are my eternal forms. They are not material.
So this is a very interesting verse because when Chitraketu was praying to the Lord, then he glorified the Lord, he glorified the devotees, and he glorified Bhakti, Bhagavad Dharma, right? As the way to reach to the Lord. The Lord is now preaching an inferior knowledge in the form of Gyan to Chitraketu, right? And Vishnu Chakravarti explains that when one is making advancement towards the Lord, two things need to happen. One needs to develop attachment towards the Lord, and one needs to develop detachment from the material conception. Chitraketu, in his prayers, had glorified attachment to the Lord, which is the superior aspect of it. But nevertheless, the Lord also wants to stress on the detachment part of it. The detachment that helps the person overcome material duality. Now, bhakti is sufficient to produce material detachment. Right? In fact, bhakti is sufficient to produce everything, right? Jnana Vairagya. It is sufficient to produce Gyan, it is sufficient to produce Vairagya. But that is in its mature form. While one is a practicing devotee, one needs to practice both. One needs to practice detachment and one needs to practice attachment. So when Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, he is instructing his classmate. So first he instructs them about the process of bhakti. And then he talks to them about the process of Gyan. So Prabhupada says in the purport that in the Bhagavad Gita it is stated that one engages in devotional service 24 hours a day. Tesham sadata yuknanam bhajatam priti purvakam, in accordance with instructions of the spiritual master, his devotional service becomes more and more pleasing. Then the Supreme Personality, who is in the core of everyone's heart, speaks to the devotee. Tadami buddhi yoga tam yena maupayantite. Chitraketu Maharaj was first instructed by his gurus, Angira and Narad, and now having followed the instruction, he comes to the stage of seeing the Supreme Lord face to face. Therefore, the Lord is now instructing him in the essence of knowledge, the essence of Gyan. So, what is the knowledge that is given by the Lord to Chitraketu? He is presenting himself in 5 aspects to Chitraketu and to us, right? So first he says, Aham vai sarva bhutani. Right? He says that I am all beings. Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 7.4 to 5, Bhumi Rapi Nalovayu, right? Where everything in the matter is, all matter is the Lord. Then the Lord says, Bhutatma, I am the soul of all beings. So this is the Lord presenting himself as Paramatma. Then he says, Bhut Bhavana, I am the cause of all beings. And this is him as Bhagavan. Then he says, I am Shabd Brahma. So this is the Lord as the Vedas. And then he says, I am Param Brahma. So this is the Lord as Brahman. Right? So in these 5 ways, the Lord is saying that I present myself in the material world. Now, one may question that when the Lord says that I am Shabda, or let's say the Lord says I am Omkar, but Omkar, it's a physical sound. It needs ether to exist. It needs somebody to speak. And if Brahman is beyond the words, how can it be real? So the Lord says that Mamobi Swastitahu, that these are my 2 eternal forms. And what are the 2 eternal? What are the 2 eternal forms? In the form of Shabda Brahma, the Vedas, and in the form of Param Brahma, which is the Brahman. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur interpretation. Srila Prabhupada has a different interpretation for this word Mamobi Swasti Tahu, in which he says that I present myself, the Lord, it says that he presents himself as the holy name and the deity form. Right? So slightly different. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, he says that there are 2 types of objects. One is permanent or real, and the second is temporary or illusory or unreal. Now, amongst the unreal object, there are 2 types. One that is experienced and unreal, and the second that is unexperienced and unreal. So what is experienced and unreal? Like a magic. You can see the magic happening. The magician, he out of air, he produces something, but it is unreal. The other is unexperienced and unreal, like a flower in a sky, or a rabbit with Vishnu Chakravarti says a rabbit with horns is unreal. Interestingly, actually, there are one reason why this thing comes, because some rabbits do get horns when they have a cutaneous growth of their skull. It's a form of a disease. They have cancer of the bone, so the bone grows uncontrollably. So it pierces the skin and it appears like horns. But that may be the origin of this phrase, right? But anyway, so there are two types of unreal objects that are experienced and not experienced. Then in the area of the experienced unreal is the conditioned soul and the manifestation of the material nature. Right? So experience means that you can experience it, you can see the jiva around you, you can see the nature around you. Unreal is because that is not what the jiva is. Right? So when you see a person around you, you see the person bound by the modes of material nature, constantly changing, ego, false ego. So that's not how the jiva is. So while you're experiencing the jiva, it is the unreal form of the jiva. Similar with the material nature that you're experiencing, and it is unreal because there is no basis to it. It is constantly changing. Now, the permanent object is the Bhutatma, which is the super soul, the Paramatma, the Bhut Bhavana, which is the Supreme Lord, the cause of the manifestation, the Shabda Brahma, which is the Vedas. The Shabda Brahman, like I said, Prabhupada translates this to the holy name or the Omkar. And again, the distinctions are subtle. Whether you call it as the Veda or the Omkar, the Vedas emanate from the Omkar. The holy name is the essence of the Vedas. So the distinctions are subtle. Then the Param Brahma is the impersonal Brahman that is realized by the Gyanis. Srila Prabhupada translates this as the deity form of the Lord. So out of all these forms that are temporary and permanent, the permanent forms are superior to the temporary forms, right? So in 112, it is said Vedyam Vastvam Atu Atra Vastu Shivadam. So that which is permanent is superior, right? And the most superior among them is the Supreme Lord that comes as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Vadanti Tattva Vedas. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes that the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I am the syllable Om in all the Vedic mantras. Vedic mantra knowledge begins with the vibration of the transcendental sound. So he's giving an explanation over here to help us understand that how the Shabd Brahma is the Vedas, but can also be considered to be the syllable Om, and also can be considered to be the holy name. Okay, verse 52, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Loke vitatam atmanam lokam cha atmani santatam upayam cha maya vyaptam mai chai vyobhyam krutam. Translation. In this world of matter, which the conditioned soul accepts as a consisting of enjoyable resources, the conditioned soul expands, thinking that he is the enjoyer of the material world. Similarly, the material world expands in the living entity as a source of enjoyment. In this way, they both expand, but because they are my energies, they are both perverted by me. As the Supreme Lord, I am the cause of these effects, and one should know that both of them rest in me.
So based on the previous verse, one may say that if Krishna is everything, whether it is permanent or temporary, whether it is the material world, the conditioned jiva, or the Lord in his Brahman Veda form, etc. If Krishna is saying he's everything, then should not everything be worshipped also? So should not the conditioned jiva, should not material nature be worshipped at the same level of the Bhagwan himself? So in this verse, the Lord is clarifying. He's saying that while both the jiva and the material nature are his energies, but they are different. The Jiva is his Tatha Shakti. The material nature is his Bahirangi Shakti. So only that which is his Swarup Shakti is an object of worship or is not different from him. So while everything is connected to him, and they have to be, because the Lord is the cause of everything, but he clarifies that just by virtue of the connection, they do not become worshipable. Only if they are part of his Swarup do they become worthy of worship. So the Jiva takes the position of an enjoyer in this material world, and the world is given the position of being enjoyed by the Jiva, right? And both the ability of the Jiva to enjoy the material world and the ability of the material world to be enjoyed by the Jiva is made possible by Krishna. So he is the Adhishthana Karana, that he is the original cause of this Karan, this cause, this enjoyment. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada criticizes those who mistakenly worship the Shakti as the Swarup. Right? And he says these people are the Mayavadis who subscribe to the notion of Manav Seva, Madhav Seva. The material world is temporary, but the Lord is not temporary. The living entities are part and parcel of the Lord, but they're not the Lord himself. The living entities in this material world are not inconceivable, but the Lord is. The theory that the Lord's energies being expansion of the Lord are as good as the Lord is mistaken. Okay, let's go to the next verse.
53-54 यदा सुषुप्तः पुरुषो विश्वं पश्यति च आत्मनि आत्मानं एकादशस्तां मन्यते स्वप्न उत्थिताः एवं जागरन् नन्दिनी नादिनी जीवस्थानानि च आत्मना माया मात्राणि विज्ञान तद् दृष्टारं param smaret. Translation: when a person is in deep sleep, he dreams and sees in himself many other objects, such as great mountains and rivers, or perhaps even the entire universe, although they are far away. Sometimes, when one awakens from a dream, he sees that he is in a human form, lying in his bed in one place. Then he sees himself in terms of various conditions as belonging to a particular nationality, family, and so on. All the conditions of deep sleep, dreaming, and wakefulness are but energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should always remember the original creator of these conditions, the Supreme Lord, who is unaffected by them.
So the conclusion of the previous verse is presented here, that because the Lord is always superior to the Jiva and to Maya, one should only worship the Lord, right? So then the Lord, he uses the three phases of the Jiva's consciousness to make this point. So he says there are three stages. One is Jagrati, which is waking. The other is Swapna, which is sleeping. The third is Shushupta, which is deep sleep. And all these three stages are created by the illusory energy of the Lord. Now, beyond these three stages, there is a fourth stage known as Turiya, which is spiritual realization. So what is the Lord recommending? That one should reject the first three stages, which are a result of the Lord's illusory energy, and focus only on the fourth stage, which helps in revealing the Lord to the person. So one should reject that which is impermanent and unreal and meditate on the form of the Lord as Antaryama. Right? So in this verse, in terms of the object of meditation, Jiva is not included. It is only the Lord. So when a person is in Supta, like in a dreaming state, then the person may see mountains and forests while within himself. All within himself, he will see oceans and mountains and forests. But when he wakes up, then he will understand that all that he saw within him is actually external to him. So he will understand that all the objects that he saw while he was dreaming were unreal. Right? So in the same way, when the person who has progressed to the stage of Turiya will see that all these objects that one is seen in the waking stage are actually unreal. And unreal because they are temporary. Right? So that progression of that parallelism of is also indicated over here. Then the state of waking and sleeping and deep sleep, Jagrati, Swapna, and Shushupta, are all out of ignorance. So thus they are actually unreal. So because they have been created by the Lord's Maya Shakti, they themselves are Maya. They themselves are real. Now, mountains and forests and snakes and all that are real. If you open your eyes, you can see them. But that which you see in this state of sleeping, they are unreal because they are only predicated on your sleep. So in this way, the realizations of a jiva in the material world are explained. That everything that you see in the material world is real, but real somewhere else. Just like a person in dreaming sees a mountain, the mountain is real, but not the mountain that he sees in his dream. Similarly, in the conditioned stage, the jiva is seeing so many things that he is trying to enjoy and manipulate, thinking that they are real. So they are not real, at least in the context of the material world. They are real somewhere else. And that somewhere else, of course, is the spiritual world. So Prabhupada talks about the subtle and gross dreams, that the subtle dreams happen at night time, which when one is sleeping, and the gross dreams are more in terms of misidentification of the self and the family and the society. Then the rest of the purport, Srila Prabhupada focuses on how to remember the Supreme Lord. Right? So he says that as stated in the Padma Puran, Smartavya Sattam Vishnu. We should always remember Lord Vishnu. Vismartyo na jatushe. We should never forget the Lord. This is the perfection of life. In the purport also, he talks about how understanding Krishna as being Brahman, Paramatma, Prakriti, the illusory energy, the spiritual energy. So his Prabhupada is talking about how this Gyan helps to further the progress of bhakti. That when you understand what the Lord is and what the Lord is not, then you can minimize what the Lord is not and focus on what the Lord is. And this is the same mood Prabhupada is resonating with what Lord Sankarshan is instructing Chitraketu. Okay, next verse.
येन प्रसिप्तः पुरुषः स्वपां वेदात्मनास्तदा सुखं च निर्गुणं ब्रह्म तमात्मानाम् अवेहि माम्. Translation. Know me to be the Supreme Brahman, the all-pervading supersoul through whom the sleeping living entity can understand his dreaming condition and his happiness beyond the activities of the material senses. That is to say, I am the cause of the activities of the sleeping living being.
So Chitraketu or somebody else might say that if everything in this material world is illusory, even in the context of being temporary, then does not that make the Lord also illusory? Or does not that make the Lord also temporary? Right? So Lord Sankarshan, he answers this question that how do I know the Antaryami? How do I know the real Lord? He answers it in two ways. He says, Swapam Vedatmanas Tada. That because of me, the living entity remembers what happens during the dream. And Sukham Cha Nirgun Brahma. And then because of me, during deep sleep, Shushupti, the person experiences the happiness of Brahman realization. Okay. So both very, very interesting aspects of sleep that are revealed by the Lord over here. So Swabham Veda Atmanas Tada, the point that is made is that if you consider the analogy of a machine, that when the machine is switched off and then somebody comes and does some stuff to the machine, right? Maybe they clean it, and the machine is turned on, then the machine will have no cognizance of what happened when it was turned off. So similarly, when the jiva is sleeping, and then at that point, its consciousness is turned off. Right? So all that is active over there is a different consciousness that is causing the jiva to dream. But yet, when the jiva wakes up, he remembers the dream. Right? So how can a machine be aware of what happened to it when it was turned off? If there was something else along with the machine that was recording what was happening to it while it was turned off. And when they turn on, then that something else told the machine this is what happened. So the Lord is using that analogy, is saying that it is because of the super soul that the jiva remembers what happens during the dream. Because of the super soul, the jiva wakes up. Because think of it, that if the person has gone to sleep, then the person has already surrendered his senses, his mind, intelligence. They're all surrendered now. They've all been quiesced. So how does the person wake up? Because of the influence of the super soul. So that is one reason. The second one is Sukham Cha Nirgun Brahma. So in deep sleep, there are not even any dreams. Right? So how does one understand that the Lord exists because of deep sleep? The Lord says that because of the happiness that one experiences, the happiness of Nirgun Brahman. So in expanding on this, what is explained is, and there is a fair amount of even the sciences agreeing to this, that it is only during deep sleep that the body rejuvenates itself. If there is no deep sleep, then the body will gradually disintegrate. So that is the rejuvenation comes from the contact of Nirgun Brahman. That is why there are some persons who require very little sleep to remain active for a long, long time. And there are others who may be tired even after long hours of sleep. Because there are some people, when they sleep, they go into deep sleep. When they're going into deep sleep, they're actually coming in contact with the Brahman and they get fully rejuvenated. And similarly, yogis, they sleep very little. And the reason they sleep so little is that when they sleep, they immediately enter deep sleep. In Ramayana, it's mentioned that Lakshman, during the 14 years, he would only sleep for a few moments because he was always vigilant and guarding and serving Lord Ram and Sita Devi. And how was he able? Of course, he's the Supreme Lord, but he was also playing the role of a human being because of Sushupti. Right? However, this form of the Lord is Nirgun. The Lord says without qualities. While it does not have any material contamination, it is also devoid of any spiritual realization. So when the Lord says Sukham cha Nirguna Brahma, the Sukham is not happiness. The Sukham is Adukham, which is the absence of misery, material misery, tiredness, fatigue, etc. Right. So the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam is quoted 6.936 that nothing is impossible for the Lord because he has only one form, and out of that form comes Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Okay, let's move to the next verse and then we'll stop for any discussion.
56. Upayam smaratah pumsa prasvapa pratibodaya anveti vyatirichecha vyatiricheta tadjnanam brahma tatparam. Translation. If one's dreams during sleep are merely subject matters witnessed by the supersoul, how can the living entity who is different from the supersoul remember the activities of dreams? The experiences of one person cannot be understood by another. Therefore, the knower of the facts, the living entity who inquires into the incidents manifested in dreams and wakefulness, is different from the circumstantial activities. The knowing factor is Brahman. In other words, the quality of knowing belongs to the living entities and to the supersoul. Thus, the living entity can also experience the activities of dreams and wakefulness. In both stages, the knower is unchanged, but is qualitatively one with the Supreme Brahman.
So this is the point that I made in the last verse. The Lord is explaining how, by understanding this three process of Jagrati, Swapna, and Shushupti, one can infer the presence of the Lord. Right. So here the Lord is actually comparing a sleeping and a waking person as two different people. Right? He says a waking person is different from a. So how can one person remember what was experienced by another person? How can a waking person experience know what was experienced by a sleeping person? So therefore, that which remains unchanged during the waking and the sleeping, the one that is observing the state that is different from the jiva is responsible for that, right? And that is none other than the antaryami. The verse also makes distinction between jiva and the Brahman. Right. So he says in both stages the knower is unchanged, but is qualitatively one with the Supreme Brahman. Right. So whether the jiva is sleeping or whether if the jiva is waking, while the knower, the antaryami, is observing that, it is not affected by it, which means that he is different from the jiva. So conceivably, if a jiva sees in the dream that his head has been cut off, when he wakes, he will be distressed. Maybe it will be a passing distress, but nevertheless, he will be affected by it. Or if he sees a dream in which he has become a king, he might get up and be happy about it. Right? But not so with the observer. Okay. So the second point is also made that while there is another entity that is observing the jiva going through these stages, unlike the jiva, the other entity is not changed. So superior to the Jiva is the Brahman. The Brahman, the Jiva is not Brahman, right? So the Jiva is the Tathastha Shakti, right? So the Brahman is the Swarup Shakti. So that's why they are two different entities. Okay, so we'll stop over here and see if there's any discussions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just a quick comment. Sometimes we say that our whole life existence is like a dream because it's an illusion. Of course, it's not the same type because we do things and we accumulate karma. Normally, in a real dream, we don't accumulate karma. Maybe yes or not, but normally we don't. No, correct?
Or you mean if you do any like good or bad activities in the dreaming state?
Yeah. No, I'm saying like sometimes analogies say that the whole life is like a dream because it's an illusion. Whatever we see, whatever is fake. We don't belong from here. It's like a dream. But here in that dream that we are living, we are getting karma, action and reaction.
Right.
But in a real dream, in the dream, we don't normally get karma.
Yeah. Thank God for that, right? Otherwise, sometimes in the dreams, we dream such horrible things. If you're getting karma because of that, there'd be no hope for us there. But yeah, I think you make a good point. That they may say that this life is a dream, but everything we do, it has consequences here, right? Good and bad. If we take to bhakti, then we have, then we have good consequences coming out.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In these verses, when we hear repeatedly Brahman, my understanding is it is super soul. Is that correct, Prabhuji?
So that term is used a little generally over here. For the most part, in this conversation, Brahman refers to Paramatma. So many times it will refer to the impersonal form of the Lord, right? But here Brahman is generally used to refer to Paramatma.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, there are no more questions. We'll stop here. So we'll meet next Monday. Then we have a few more verses over here left in this, and then after that so with this chapter we'll end the Chitraketu pastime. After that, the next 3 chapters are mostly without purports. So even though the chapter is 78 verses long, but a lot of lineages are discussed over there. So these are one of those chapters that you can actually spend a lot of time, because in the lineages there are personalities and you can stop and discuss the pastime of the personalities. But I think at least in this group, everybody knows the personalities. So we'll just go over the lineage. And the last 2 chapters, of course, are about Diti trying to perform the vrata to kill Indra. And that the 6th canto finishes with that. Okay. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनामपावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। साई गौर प्रेमानंद। हरि
Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Gopal.